Hey everybody, we're here today again with an amazing opportunity to sit with a clinical social worker and a psychotherapist and my personal counselor, Tina Smith. And we've been navigating over the last couple of weeks, just how do we talk about mental health in this season while so much is going on? Now, Tina, you're married. How long have you been married?
Oh my goodness, almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years. Isn't that crazy to think about? Like,
yeah, it makes me feel old.
Well, yeah, this is our 20th anniversary this year. So it was pretty exciting. Amber's actually, I don't know if I should say this, Amber's having a big birthday this year, and we're doing 20 years of married. So she's like, you better really take care of me. So, I'm sure I'll take her to, McDonald's or something fancy to be like, here, have one, something. No, but so marriage is awesome.
Yes.
Right? Most of the time.
And hard.
I was going to say, that's like most of the time, right?
Most of the time.
But this has been a season, like most of us have jobs where, or a life where our spouses, we kind of see each other in the morning and see each other at night. And then during the daytime, we're at different locations, whether that be stay-at-home spouse or when one's working, whether it's a dual income family. But there seems to usually be this idea that we're not together on top of each other all the time. And now we're into this season where it's like we're with each other a lot.
All the time.
Which is great. Don't get me wrong. Amber, if you're watching, I think it's awesome. I love being with you this much. It's awesome. Just with that clear so I don't get in any trouble.
Yeah.
But if your marriage wasn't amazingly healthy before this, and now we've gotten into these several weeks of being together, there's a potential that could be a really vital situation.
Absolutely.
So talk to us about that and mental health and staying healthy. Let's talk a little bit about marriage.
Yeah. So, we're speaking to couples who, if they went into the pandemic and they were already struggling, they were fighting a lot, their communication was breaking down, this is only going to heighten it. And that's the tricky thing. They haven't probably been on a date. They haven't really focused on intimacy. It's just been, we go to our jobs, we parent, we go to our jobs, we parent. We live in this redundant experience. Yeah. So this is going to draw out a lot of those difficult moments. So if I can just encourage, and maybe it's have some self-compassion, is that we really need to recognize this is a crisis and that your marriage is just going to begin to feel it much more. So is this a place that our marriages can have the expectation to do great work? I would say it's going to be hard. Like, can you do significant work in changing your marriage if you went into this? There's things that you can do to help support it. There's things you can do to manage. I want to believe absolutely there is a place where this can be a catalyst for people to say, whoa, we can't do this anymore. Our kids are home all the time. They're seen as fight. They're seen as not okay. Can this be a catalyst for people to say, we need to do this different? Yeah. And it absolutely can be. And that's
Which is
where
the good that could come out of this.
It is the good that comes out of it, because this is where couples are being forced to sit with each other. They're being forced to, we have to communicate, or we can continue to go in our separate rooms. We can make different choices, and that's really what it comes down to, is what choice do you want to experience in this moment? What choice do you want your kids to be exposed to every single day? Because you're now together 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, whether you like it or not, you are together. So make a choice in what that allows. We were just, as we were talking, this pandemic is making a mark in history. Yeah. I want to encourage couples to really evaluate which mark in history do you want to make in your children's life in this time and place. And so is it a mark of, I've seen my mom and dad grow and actually connect in a deeper way? Or do I see my parents disconnect, which then has an impact on them generationally? When I have couples who come to see me, I say, when we're looking at ourselves in relationship, in our marriages, what you choose today has an impact on the next generation and the next generation. It means grandparenting. What do you want that to look like? So we often make decisions in our marriage based on reactions, right? We're very, very reactive. Our spouse triggers us and we're so quickly to slam doors or slam cupboards, do the stonewalling and close down and disconnect. But every time we do that, we make a mark in our future. So we want our future to be different. And And so making those choices now today in connection. So if you're someone who is disconnected, the question is, how can I reconnect? What can I do right now? Because I'm in this house with this person a lot. Can we set up rituals where we're having date nights in the house now? Can I just allow myself to know that historically I married this person for a reason? Do I need to remind myself why I married this person?
How do you do that? How do you remind, when you're just so frustrated?
Well, you know what? It's true. Bring out the photo albums. Like everybody has pictures, right? It's like how often?
So photos are these things that you put on your phone nowadays?
Sorry, yes.
If you're, you know, if you're in our age, photos, we had like albums, like you actually physically held on to.
We're the same age, so
I know.
Yes,
But
so open up your phone.
Go on Facebook Memories.
You go Facebook Memories. Or if you're as old as us, open up your albums. So, and look over your history, because truly history does allow us to recognize that couples do go through honeymoon stage, and they do identify that the honeymoon stage of a relationship lasts up to 2 years. It can go longer, but recognize after that, and you're set into parenting and routine, you start to forget why you married that person.
Yeah.
You know, the biggest thing I want to tell everybody is the person you married is still the same person. They've just also have added attributes to their life. You've weathered, and there's experiences and stresses, and it's the stress that causes this distortion on who this person is that you married. But that person is still in there. So this truly is a great opportunity for those that have been struggling. Ask yourself, how can I get to remember who the person is that I married? Who is the person, the characteristics, the personality, not what you see right now when they're stressed or highly reactive. Because the person is still in there. So connection is key. I can't stress enough. Connection, when we look at the relationship in terms of marriage, the culture that is created in the marriage is what lays the mark to their future. So what type of culture do you want to create in your marriage? Do you want to appreciate each other, even in the small moments? Like if someone out of nowhere brought you a cup of coffee, and that's maybe not something they typically do, even if they made themselves a coffee and you're like, oh, we had some leftover coffee, I still appreciate that. It truly is in those little things, in those moments. You know, even if it's they didn't wake you up and the kids got up. How amazing is that to get to sleep in and your spouse went and helped with the kids? Because right now, routine isn't going to be the same. So there is always moments to appreciate. One of the tools that I've encouraged couples to do is open up a notebook. So if you're in this place where you're struggling and it's really hard to find those attributes in your spouse, take a notebook. And again, I say notebook, don't use electronics for this. Put it in your kitchen where everybody can see it. And if you notice something good your spouse does, write it down.
Oh, wow. And
so what you're doing is you're logging and you're writing compliments and you're creating a different culture right now, because that is what is needed for our marriages right now is changing it up, be different, reconnect how you used to connect. Go for a drive in your car.
There you go. Go parking.
Go parking.
Okay, so let me ask you this though, because I think something I hear all the time is communication is actually really important, right?
Yes.
And I think a lot of couples don't even know how to rebirth that. How do you actually talk or express or have grace in a conversation when it feels like all they're doing is nagging at each other or arguing with each other or, bringing up, whatever from the past, right? Do you have any tips for that?
I do. So that is the trickiest one. So for when people come to marriage counseling, for example, or couples counseling, the first thing they will say is, we don't know how to communicate. It is the number one thing that brings people to be in session. And what I would caution everybody is, if you feel like you're going to be able to perfect your communication right away, it's hard unless you have the ability to hear the emotion behind the communication. Because what you're going to hear is the noise. It's like listening to Charlie Brown's Teacher, if anybody remembers that. Yes, because that's really what it's like, right? Yeah. But if you can't pause that and hear what is actually being said behind, it's just going to feel like noise, and it's going to trigger you, and you're going to want to share or shut down. So you're either going to be highly reactive or you're going to shut down. Wow. So really what you have to do is...
I usually shut down.
Yeah, and most people recognize that you're either doing one or the other. And it doesn't matter who you are in your marriage. We all of us, will do something of that sort. So the first thing is, and I'm going to say this word, and most men just shiver when I say this word, you have to know how to self-soothe. Truly, I know it's gonna be like, what does that even mean, Tina?
It got weird.
It did get weird. But truly, so this is when we look at the one of the most profound researchers for couples therapists is 𝐒𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬. So him and his wife have done tons of research around couples work. And one of the things that they said, when you get to a heightened state where you're trying to communicate and it feels like this, or either one person is shut down and the other person just gets louder, there is this belief that if I just get louder, my spouse is going to hear me. It's not a thing. It doesn't actually work. It only causes the person to shut down. So you really, for couples who are at that place right now, especially with the pandemic, go do something you enjoy. Go for a walk. Go in your bedroom. Go have a bubble bath. Go do something. Bring down the intensity and then re-engage. And keep trying. Don't stop trying. If it even means you need to write a letter to your spouse, write a letter, but don't stop trying. But don't do it when you're heated.
Wow.
And that is the number one rule of communication, because you're actually not hearing each other.
Yes. Amber said that they don't hear her on the best of days. So when we're upset,
you need to do more self-soothing.
I should have a bubble bath.
You should have a bubble bath.
It's just got so weird and so awkward. But it is true. Like the idea of stepping out, and going, as a guy, going in the garage and tinker with something, just to actually allow yourself to recalibrate. The only thing I've always said when I've done it is, you don't walk away completely from the conversation. It has to be, I'm leaving.
Yes.
I'm gonna go tinker in the garage.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk. Let's talk in 30 minutes, or let's talk in an hour and a half. I've always learned to put those timelines on, because if not, you get into that, okay, we both just swept it under the carpet. We're just gonna ignore it. I've now done my thing in the garage. You've done your thing, and we'll come back and just be like, we good? Yeah. And we're not good.
No, and you brought everything. So when people have done that, the next fight, guess what comes up again? The 5 other things that you have not resolved. So just pretending it didn't exist, you're just creating another fight that's bigger than the next. And also the fracture, right? So the caution around not communicating, even though in that moment when you've both, separated and you said, hey, I need to take a break from this, even if you've done everything in that moment that's right and need to take some time away, what happens is, if you don't re-engage with what happened, think about it as a fracture line that's just occurred. So couples who eventually come to counseling, their fracture line is so big because they've tried to bury, but as they've buried, the fracture line is just so big and entrenched. So at this point, for couples who are in that place, take this time to figure out, where can I reconnect? Yeah. Don't, maybe at this point, have some compassion and say, we can't deal with some of the big issues, but at least we can manage and not creating more of a fracture in this time and place. Let's not create a larger fracture. Let's just manage the fracture we have right now until you can engage in actually getting support and getting marriage counseling where you can actually restore the fracture. Yeah. And that's what I would encourage people to recognize, is that I don't want to stress to anybody right now in this time and place, even though it can be a great catalyst. But we also have to look for people who, is it a catalyst? Yes, use it. And if it's not, don't stress yourself where, okay, I can't fix my marriage, so this means the end. It is not ever the end.
That's right.
It just means manage where you are right now, because every marriage can be repaired. Every single marriage. It doesn't even matter. I've seen many marriages in the time that I've worked who have come back from even an affair, who have the most beautiful marriage today, even from something so traumatic. Wow. So I don't want people to give up just because there's a pandemic. Just manage or use as a catalyst.
And I think that's so important, because I do think that there is sometimes a mindset. I mean, I know I do it in health, where it's like, I go to the gym one day, I'm like, I should look awesome. Yeah. Right?
Yes, totally.
It's like, no. That's not how it works. It's the longevity of right choices and better choices over a season of time that you look back and go, oh man, I don't even recognize myself.
Yes, right.
And so your marriage isn't going to be like, okay, I wrote one nice thing in the journal. Why did he not see that? Or why didn't she see that, right? Like, or I said I love you when I married you. If it changes, I'll let you know, right? Yeah. Like the concept is, if you make small changes, those will gradually increase over time. Yeah. And let's not try to get it fixed all today, but it'll get fixed in time.
I have the saying, we're only ever running a marathon, not a race, when it comes to human change. That applies to marriages as well. So if we think it's gonna be a race, we're gonna set ourselves up to fail. Yeah. So remember that it's always a marathon. And it's either a marathon to fractures or a marathon to success. Whatever we do, every choice we make is going to set up to success or failure. It doesn't happen overnight.
Well, thank you so much for another great time. Hopefully you've enjoyed this conversation. I really want to encourage you, would you share this to your Facebook page or to your social media? Or maybe you know somebody that you need to share it. Now, don't send it just to your spouse. That could get you in some trouble.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Right? But if you share it to a friend who's going through a struggle right now, I really believe in that these conversations have the opportunity to produce a lot of hope. If you are looking for help, we want to highlight a couple things. First off, we as a church are always here for you. Movement Church, we care about who you are, and we're available. Send us a DM, a direct message, or send an email to us, or call us at our church office, and we're still answering our phones. We'd love to help you, or there'll be some help lines on the bottom of the screen or in our comment section that we'd love to give to you so that you just have access to some resources. I also want to highlight that we are running small groups during this season, and one of the small groups we're running is a marriage small group. And so if you'd like to know more about that, then you can check out our webpage, wearemovement.ca/small groups. It may be a great way just to be a launch pad for a conversation about how to have a healthy marriage or how to re-engage as a married couple. Thank you so much for being with us. Let's take a moment and let's pray. God, you are so good and so awesome. God, I thank you for every married person watching this. And wherever their marriage is, God, I resonate with the words Tina said, that it's not over. No matter how bad it's been, there's always hope for it to be better, because through you, all things can be done. And so God, I pray for marriages today, that they would be healed, they'd be whole. I pray for relationships to be restored in a powerful way. And that God, you would put a picture and a dream of something so powerful in front of them, of a pure, healthy marriage that will have a lasting impact for generations to come. And Lord, it doesn't happen overnight, but it starts today. And so Lord, when we start today, in your mighty name we pray, amen.